Welcome to another episode of the Schloegel Design Remodel Podcast. I'm Amy Gerard, and today I am so excited to welcome our guest, Kath, Executive Vice President of Design at Cambria. She has been with Cambria 20 years and is the creative force behind all new design launches. Summer is responsible for translating consumers' existing and unmet wants and needs into product development, combining her trend-spotting keen eye with the art and science behind Quartz. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today to talk about Quartz and specifically Cambria Quartz. So I'm going to get started with some basic questions. Very basic. Can you describe to us what exactly quartz is?
Well, let's be more specific. Quartz surfaces. Quartz is a mineral and it's mined, and it is one of the most abundant and strong minerals in this planet. So if you think about when you buy stone that's quarried out of the earth, some stones have quartz in them, and the stones that have a higher percentage quartz are the stronger stones. We are made from a recombined process using 93% quartz, mined from a quartz mine in North America that we own, brought to Minnesota, and that quartz is combined with a little bit of binder and pigment for the color, and we create Cambria the Slab, which is what makes it so high performing. It's the durability of that quartz.
Where is your mine located? It's in the United States?
It's actually in Canada.
Oh, well, it's North America.
It's North America, we say.
And you're in Minnesota, so I feel like that's pretty
It's
close.
right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Right. Okay. And so I think you've kind of already touched on this, but then how is quartz different from quartzite?
Sure. So quartz surfaces are, we call it, produced or manufactured to create this superpower high performing stone. A quartzite is a quarried stone where there are mines that have all sorts of different types of stones, and quartzite just happens to be one where there's a higher concentration of the mineral quartz.
Okay. And I know this, and I feel like a lot of people do, but some people are still wondering, should I be doing granite or should I be doing quartz? Is this a good alternative, and why, to a natural stone?
I mean, I will be the first to say, as the designer of Cambria, that natural quarried stone, whether it be granite, marble, quartzite, you name onyx, they're beautiful. And there are projects that I think they are wonderful and actually can coordinate with Cambria. But I think what we're dealing with today we have busy households, especially in the kitchen. Quartz, it's really come a long way in the aesthetic and the design, because we're all looking for something absolutely beautiful that we will love forever. So now quartz has created, in Cambria, we like to feel like we kind of led the way and everybody's coming along for the ride, real beauty in our products. And then when you install Cambria quartz, you don't have to worry about it. If you're thinking about granite, every piece of granite, you really don't know the problems you may have in the future, because it was made by Mother Nature, which is what, creates that beauty. But also you don't know where the fissures or where you might have problems with it etching or staining. And certainly you could seal it if you want to put chemicals on your countertops. I don't want to do that. And so putting Cambria quartz in your house just ensures that you don't have to worry. You have a warranty if ever there is an issue with installation, fabrication, and it's everlasting beauty.
Awesome. Okay, now I get to talk about the fun things, the Cambria Design. There's a lot, like you said, you guys feel like you're kind of leading the way, but there are a lot of quartz brands today. How is Cambria different?
It's a really good question. When we first started 20 years ago, there was really only 3 big, brands. And today, you're right, the market is flooded with off brands that you don't even know where they're manufactured abroad. You don't know how they got here or any of their kind of employee situations, and I might say where they're being made. We can tell you that when you're buying Cambria, it is of the highest quality. We own the quartz mine, so we know where our quartz comes from, and we can pick the highest quality. We produce it here in America, where everybody gets a fair wage, are paid very well by veterans. The average tenure of our employees at the manufacturing facility is 9 years. So it is being produced by employees that are taken care of and know what they're doing. And then quality is everything. So not just in our raw materials in the quartz, but everything from producing the slabs to making sure that they have the perfect sheen, that there is no imperfections. I mean, every slab that leaves our plant is going to potentially be somebody's kitchen, somebody's fireplace around. And we need to make sure that it absolutely shines. And so there's an absolute guarantee that when you buy Cambria, that there's so much care taken to make sure that you have the highest quality product. And then the innovation portion of it. So you said, Amy, we have a wide selection. We do. We have something for everybody around the country for sure. And the reason we are here in this situation is because the family, being a family-owned business, we're not beholden to shareholders and all of that. We invest heavily in our technology and innovation. So being the first to have a Britannica, being the first to have a Scarbray and a Portrush, some of our wonderful selling designs that nobody has anything that can touch it, is only happening because of the investments made in our technology to actually invent equipment to make designs like that nobody's done before. So if you think about the combination of all of that together, there's not one quartz company that can say they have every single one of those covered. And the end result is, as a consumer, when I see Cambria, I don't have to worry. I know that everything's going to be taken care of. I know that's the highest quality quartz product, and all I have to do is, make the hard decision of which one.
Right. Which one do I like the most?
That's it. It's still not easy.
No, it's not. Yeah, and you segued right into, our designers, our clients love the designs, like you said, some of the large scale veining. You don't get that in some of your other options. As one of our designers said, love the product. It's very realistic. The colors are great. The new matte collection. But can you speak specifically, and I know this is what you do day in and day out, to the design process and how you arrive at some of those movements and those colors, and just something that's so different from what other carriers are providing?
Yeah, I will tell you that 20 years ago, and I've been with the company for 20 years. So since the beginning, I've grown up with Cambria. And back then, great, you think about what's really popular today, the marble looks, the whites are really popular. But 20 years ago, granite was luxury because marble wasn't really on the scene. It wasn't affordable yet. And from the very beginning, I can tell you, when I was brought into, and I'm not an interior designer by trade, I'm a marketer and somebody who cut their teeth, on design at Cambria.
Yep.
And because you don't go to school to design quartz countertops, you can learn it on the job. And in the beginning, it was really studying the trends. Obviously, back then, it was a lot of black granites. It was a lot of tan walls, and you had a lot of oak cabinets you're dealing with, and dark cherry cabinets. So really was looking at, for us in the beginning, our palette was so in its infinity that we, sky's the limit of where we go. Where do we want to go? And so priority then was, we want to go after the luxury client who loves granite today, but we need to convince them that we are a better product, and we need to have an array of tones that live within the kitchen that they love today. But then as we matured, and so we did that in the very beginning, some of our beginning designs, Victoria, Nottingham, those were Canterbury, those all lived within those interiors, and they were a new technology that actually had random variation that was never before seen in quartz. Back then, if you remember 20 years ago, quartz was kind of that kitty litter, very consistent.
Yeah, that's what I think. A lot of people still think that. They think quartz and kitty litter is a great explanation. It's like splashes in there.
Right, splotches all over the place in a variety of tones, right? Every tone possible in that formation. And so we really broke out of that and kind of blazed the trails for quartz. And then, our competitors started taking notice that, wow, how can we do this? And we just kept going. We didn't look back, and continue to look at the trends of where, always where's the puck going and where is it today? Want to make sure that we offer what people want today, because we know we're going to sell a lot of it, but we have to be ahead of the curve in the future. Myself, as the designer, I've really evolved in my technique as far as not only paying attention to North America, but I started going to the European shows, Milan and Paris and London, and seeing kind of what's coming. In 2016, I went to Salone dei Mobili in Milan, and I walked in, and this is in the, we're right smack in the white kitchen era in 2016, and everything was black and opulent and navy. And I was like, holy smokes, this is coming. And it's influenced me in such a big way. And there are a lot of designs that I literally started to work on that are selling really well today. So staying ahead of it. And the process for me, similar to an interior designer, if you think about a room and a room has layers, a design has layers. And, we're really looking at first, it's what's the market going to bear and where do we want to push the envelope and be the first to do it. And we have a whole strategy for that. But also we have different looks and platforms. It's pretty obvious from marble collection to waterstone collection. So it's technology development and what we can do in a platform, but also how do we fill out the bouquet in beautiful tones that we want to install in our kitchen. And then I will layer it on a dream board of how they're all going to layer, even draw out veining patterns. We have a whole sophisticated system that we actually track every design and every single process from I enter it into the system as a dream board essentially. And then we start to create iterations of tiles, which are what we tweak and get to a moment of, yes, this is the design. Let's go make it in the plant in a full slab and go really spend the money.
That is so cool. So do you have, 10 tiles from the first iteration and then you can see, is that how you kind of look like, okay, this is number one, this is where number 10, and this is what we're going to take to make slabs. So you can see the little changes you make along the way.
Yep. It could be tone changes. It could be quartz sizes that we change. It's veining patterns. There's so many things as you can imagine.
Right.
Sometimes I will tell you very rarely, but sometimes we could nail it on the first time. Like I could see one tile and be like, yep, you got my vision. This is it. Let's go. Rarely does that happen, but it can, and it has.
That's got to feel pretty good when that
That
happens.
feels really good. Yeah, that's when the magic is, around.
Yeah, and when you put that one out, you're like, it's going to be amazing. Everyone wants this. Yep. We got it out of the gate.
Yep.
That's pretty
exactly.
Cool. So you said you go to Europe. Are you the world we're living in? Maybe not this exact moment, but are you still getting those inspiration from overseas, or where do you kind of gather your inspiration for these?
My gosh, I think we all commiserate on that one from 2020. Yeah, so last year was a big awakening of, wow, okay, so now we need to get inspiration in other areas, not get on planes and go see it. So what I did last year, I poured through, because I take a lot of pictures. So I went back and looked at all my pictures from past trips, and I found a lot of cool inspiration, like really paying attention to detail and studying all the photos, because they still were relevant and they were, very fashion forward, if you will. And then I also ordered probably like 20 high design couture fashion designer books, like Tom Ford and Grable and all the really famous. And I just started pouring through them to get inspiration from fashion, because sometimes what old can be new again. And also just reading some of the disruptor, Alexander McQueen, who's like a major disruptor fashion designer, and how did he get to where he went. He was really tortured, and that also can be inspirational and pushing you in directions where you're unsure or you're uncomfortable. So that was really helpful, because I'll tell you, Pinterest and going online, basically whatever you search, it's just going to keep serving up to you things it knows you already like. It's really hard to go get uncomfortable.
You got to branch out from that. That's already stuff that's established, and here you are trying to be cutting edge and figure out something new, and that's already all been done.
Yeah, exactly. So I did actually go to Paris in January for Maison. So I did take my first international trip, and the show was great, but I will say I think you could tell that things were kind of stuck a little bit, because I didn't see too many new things from the past. I think it's going to be a ramp up period to get back there.
For so many things.
Yeah, for so many things. So true.
Okay, so how often does Cambria release new designs? How many designs are you coming up with a year?
There is no rhythm, like never has there been consistency, because we kind of reserve the right to launch as many designs that we feel are ready and are amazing. If you kind of set the bar and say it has to be 50 a year, you might miss out on spending more time on one design that has more potential, right? But we have committed in 2021, we had 4 launches. In fact, today was our 4th and final launch. We launched 4 new designs today. So 16 this year. Last year in 2020, we actually launched 34, which was a
That's
pretty
huge.
big year.
Yeah.
That was with the Coordinates collection, right smack in the pandemic. And next year, we're intending to have 7 different launches. So we're really trying to level up, if you will.
Right. Wow. I'm excited. I'm going to have to get on after this and look at the newest ones.
Yeah, go to Instagram. There's videos and all kinds of stuff.
Okay. I'll have to check it out. Where do you see these design trends heading going into 2022? Do you have any vision as to what you think will change?
I think in our world, especially in countertops, what I've seen in the last 20 years is the trends are very slow changing. And a big part of that is because we're a pretty visible product. We're a pretty permanent product, and it's a good investment, right? So when you're looking at your countertops, you want something that you feel like is timeless. And so it's really hard if you see new things coming on the marketplace, it's hard to make that leap. And so we have to be very strategic when we are going to put out designs that we know are for the future. It's going to take a while. And I think, what I'm seeing is certainly white countertops are not going away, but what I'm seeing trend is warmer white. I think that's going to continue next year, warming up of the room. That's why we're seeing, tones like burgundy and terracotta and clay really come in. Pink is still, I think I was just with designers at a conference though, and everybody's like saying pink has got to go away. So
they're like, we're done with that.
I've never wanted to put it in the countertops because I know one person will buy it, one person, maybe 2 people will buy it. I see definitely more color. I mean, green next year, every single paint company, their color of the year is green. And, we launched a ton of green this year. I was already thinking green, and they're blowing up. So I know green's going to continue, just everybody's going to come along and bring the green in.
That's my walls.
Then there you go. Exactly. And all the light shades, the sagey, all of that I think is going to continue next year. I know this year color of the year was yellow. I don't know how much that really took off in the home.
Well, that would be a really hard countertop color.
Yeah. And so these 4 designs we just launched, they're family, and they're all white background, but the veining has an indentation. So it has a texture, and they're metallic. So one of them is actually that gold metallic, that in a vein is different than
the whole thing.
Than the filled in. It's more the borders.
The one that you guys did this year that has like that burgundy is really pretty. I like that. And it's, again, burgundy, you wouldn't think countertop, but it's just a little bit of a nod to it in that veining.
Yeah. So for me, it's, what are some of those tones that we're going in the direction, and how can we incorporate them or complement them in our surfaces? I think the black cabinets are going to keep going, but I don't think you'll ever get to a moment where you have 50% cabinets all black. I just don't think people are willing to go that dark in their kitchen, especially coming out of a pandemic. I think we started going the opposite way of like, no. Yeah. And you know what? I think designers are getting out, everybody's getting back into the world. And so I think we're kind of figuring out, like, what do we want to trend coming out of this pandemic?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see where we head the next year. Okay. So this is also new at Cambria, is your 6mm slab. Can you talk a little bit about what drove to that new size? Because that's totally a new thing.
Totally a new thing. I would say in the last 10 years have started to really focus on also commercial. Obviously that there's so much opportunity for surfaces, especially something that, low maintenance. And we have some divisions that go after different sectors, and one is luxury transportation. So I think what really prompted it is the weight. Certainly, shower surrounds and things on the wall are great when they're, light and thin and easy to install. But for us, one of the biggest opportunities is on yachts, having something that is so light, or in elevators, or on a private jet or airline or an RV. So there's that prompted strategy because there's good volume in that area. But then on the spillover on the residential side, what opportunity for all the surrounds, even cabinet cladding, or I've seen hood cladding, which is great for the 6 mil.
Yeah. It's one of the designers on our team and I were talking, and it's a little bit like that porcelain tile that you could get that I think is more of a European thing, but it's available here. But some people do that in countertops, and that 6 is getting quartz closer to that. But again, I think sometimes you probably have more options then. There's
exciting. More options for application or furniture. The sintered stone, what you're talking about, that product has really ramped up because really they just print on it, and the printing technology has really advanced. The only thing you have to consider when you're thinking about that for your countertop, because it's a great outdoor use, cladding a building, but it's very tinny when you knock on it, and so you just have to be okay with that in your kitchen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wouldn't know that because I don't have it in my kitchen. And I probably won't also have it in a yacht. So it's good to know.
Hey, you never know.
You never know.
You can manifest anything.
That's right.
Got to dream it.
That's right. And I don't think I even mentioned it to you, but the other thing is that mirrored look you guys are doing, that split, that is really cool too. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. And it's hard because we're not visual right now. So it's hard for people to see it, but it's really cool the way yet you line up those two pieces and it looks like it's split it in half like a tree or something.
Amy, it is split in half. We call it book match or butterfly. Essentially, what we do is we literally slice into the slab and open it up. And it's a mirror image, you're right. And we have it, I think, available in 16 of our designs that have the heavy veining, and it's just beautiful. Your listeners can go to Cambria's website and find the book match.
That's right. I will be linking it and
just
also
Google.
Showing an image.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, so you talked a little bit at the beginning of the difference in a quartz versus a natural stone. And we all know if you have granite, you have to reseal it. And like you said, do you want to put a chemical on? So what is the best way to care for your quartz countertop in day to day?
I mean, we really say all you need is soap and water. It's so easy. I mean, you can spill your wine and leave it overnight. I've tested this out myself.
Intentionally, I'm sure.
Yeah, this is research time in R&D, remember? Yeah, just soap and water. Everything will come up with soap and water. It's so easy. And, it won't stain if you leave it over time. And then you don't have to use chemicals.
So I kind of reached out to a few of our designers and said, is there any question that you guys have always wanted answered? And one was, okay, to your point, like it's been 20 years, really, we've been seeing big installs on quartz for 10 to 15. Is there anything that needs to be refinished or retouched or anything now that they've had them in for that long? Or are they still just soap and water treatment?
100 years. I mean, yeah. I mean, I've heard of homes getting burnt down and the only thing left was the Cambria. I'm not kidding. Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing I would say is after 15, 20 years, you might want to upgrade the design.
The whole kitchen, really. They might want to remodel that whole kitchen.
I mean, if you have some oak cabinets in there, you might want to paint them.
Or go with a newer updated stain.
Or go with a newer, yeah, right, exactly. But
so funny, we've come full circle there.
Yeah, it's all budget. But there's so many things you can do now to refresh the kitchen on a lower budget, on the low. Some things you go high and you go low, but you can make a dramatic change without changing out your cabinets.
You can, yeah, for sure. The backsplash and the countertop and even the faucet and the sink, that makes
oh my gosh, the poles on the, just change out your poles on your cabinets.
Yes. Okay, and this is another kind of common question is the heat and how quartz countertop handles that. My neighbor always tells me she doesn't want to go to quartz because on her countertop she just sets the pots. I'm like, you probably should never do that. What do you guys suggest on quartz?
Yeah, and here's what I would. And I always say this with stone, whether it's granite, marble, Cambria, stone is naturally cold. Do you notice when you ever go up to a countertop, especially if the room is cold, it's cold. And the problem is the rapid temperature change that can combust the minerals in the product. That happens with granite. My mother, she had a Lefse maker. You probably remember what Lefse is. It's a very German thing. But she had this big hot device for 6 hours and she cracked her granite. So it doesn't matter what stone you have, it's all about the temperature change. You don't know how cold your stone is. And if you put a boiling pot on it, it's that rapid temperature change. And that's why we can't really tell you what temperature, because we don't know the temperature of your stone. So that's why with any stone, use a trivet. I mean, certainly it can take hot coffee, your coffee mug's not going to do a thing to it.
Right.
The normal things that we would put on our countertop, just use a trivet and move on.
Take care of them. You invested, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's the only thing. But I mean, you can cut on it with your knives. It'll just dull your knives. So that's not a problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even scratch?
No.
That's
But you don't want to
awesome.
dull your knife because you'll be like sharpening your knife all the time. Pain in the butt.
Yeah, use a cutting board. I feel like I learned a lot and it's exciting. And I'm so excited to see what just launched and what's coming down next year. So thank you so much for taking the time to share with us.
You are so welcome. I am honored to be here with you and loved our chat. And I hope that everyone learned something, and we'd love for you to check out our new design launch.